I have been transferred to the game as a third-class mass actor. I was even kicked out of the house for losing face. There is no ambition. All I want to graduate. But the world does not let me be alone. It's time to accept. I no longer recognize you as the heir of the Roth-Taylor family, because of the frivolous swear to the noble Fenia princess, because of the disgrace that you have brought to your family's honor with your small jealousy, and because of your embarrassing participation in the cheating in the enrollment exam of Sylvania Academy. All of this cannot be underestimated. No need to read any more. It was a personal letter from Krebin Roth-Taylor, the patriarch of the Roth-Taylor family. Although full of rituals, the main content is still clear. We have expelled you. My life, once ruled as a king, was supported by a powerful family, came to an end. I felt as if the fate gods were mocking me. Are you happy? Now your hell life begins. It seems that they are whispering to me. I would like to reflect indignantly because I am not Ed Roth-Taylor, an arrogant figure that protects myself with the influence of my family and lives an arrogant life. Your furniture has been packed here. Thank you for taking the time at Sylvania Academy. With polite goodbye, the maid in charge of Ophelia's Hall, the most luxurious dormitory of Sylvania Academy, gave me 2 large wooden suitcases. With a bewildered face, I accepted them, realizing that my gorgeous room was only a few suitcases when I had packed my personal belongings. In other words, those big rooms from the beginning have never been really mine. Being cut off the support from my family, this is my miserable situation. Wish you live well in the rest of your life. Even when I was the one who was thrown down at the sewer at this time, the courtesy for a former noble was still there. A solemn treatment like rubbing salt into my wound. Boom Ophelia's Hall's large. Door closed, and I was alone in the beautiful garden. Well, it's time to admit it. Is in the game? The game that I really love is Sylvania's failure. I was transferred to the worst time possible into a yuan possible. I put down the suitcase and put my hand on my face. I'm done. There is no way out. The name Ed Roth-Taylor evokes an old scent. Even me, who overcame the Sylvania's failure swordsman more than 5 times, almost did not remember the name. The reason is too clear. He was a third-class villain who left the scene as soon as the game began. Look there, it's not Ed Roth-Taylor. Shh, do not stare, he will notice. Now nothing to be careful. He was already fired, right? Just yesterday, a friend at Ophelia's Hall tell me that they cleaned his room. We will not see him in the next semester. He laughed loudly without knowing his position. It seems people don't know when their luck will come. That's right. Why, is he doing so in the first-year entrance exam? I know right from the beginning he will be like this. He has no real skill, just a fake appearance. At lunchtime, I accidentally heard these pleasant comments when students gathered in the hall. Surrounded by wooden luggage as big as his suitcase, it is not the easiest to hear. People like to talk about the ups and downs of others. I understand that, but feel offended. Who am I before becoming this character? A humble and simple person, living without ambitious, devoted to his responsibility. It is too much to suddenly make me, a kind person, to pay for such sins. Sigh. I crave smoking. Sighing, looking around, the students' gossip disappeared. It has been about 2 hours since I was expelled from the residence. My brain was frozen by shock at this sudden change, and the fact made me stunned. But in the end, I calmed down. It was a completely surreal situation, but I could accept this sudden change. Perhaps my ability to regain my quick calm is due to the influence of my new identity, Ed Roth-Taylor. Anyway, I need to plan my next step immediately. I opened one of the wooden suitcases and took out a lavish personal mirror. Looking back at me is not me in the past, but a young blonde with special lines that can be considered quite handsome. That is the indisputable reflection of my current person. Name, Ed Roth-Taylor. Gender, male age, 17 level, 2 race. People achievement, no power, 3 intelligence. 4 skillful, 7 will, 7 luck. 6 details of combat skills, details of magic. Skills details of daily skills details. Of Kim, fake skill. This information screen is too familiar to those who have played Sylvania's Failure Swordsman 5 times. In the game, the menu pops up for this active character index. When looking at your reflection in the mirror, stream, pond, or window, you can use magic to see your own ability. Having such a detailed factor is truly reproduced like a dream. And really, I wish the tangible statistics that I saw was just a nightmare. Regarding the magic of Sylvania Academy, but my intelligence is very bad. Born and pampered as a noble, my physical strength was pitiful. The strength of a typical farmer may be in the range of 5 to 6, while the main character, focusing on fighting at the end of the story, there may be a PowerPoint of just over 20. My index is extremely bad. My ingenuity and willing is not bad, even though it is not especially outstanding. With these trivial attributes, it is not surprising that I am just a short obstacle for the main character. Indeed, I was given the role of a third-class villain, negligible, just to add a little drama to the plot at the beginning of the film. What happened to that character was not yet known. No, I remember now. After all the scenarios ended, he appeared briefly in the ending scene. He dressed in ragged clothes, sitting on the street to ask for money. Well, I should never remember that. Oh. I sighed again and leaned back. The ending is inevitable. A noble person who did not know anything about the world was suddenly kicked out on the street without anything in his hand. At least I need to avoid starvation on the street. But how? I struggled to find the answer to that question. After a while, my conclusion was very simple. Somehow, 10 days before the new semester began, Sylvania Academy is not really a school, but more like a city. The Academy bought the entire Akan Island in the southwest of the kingdom to establish, so vast that even alumni did not discover everywhere. What does that mean? That means, if a person goes long enough, they will definitely encounter something. Wandering under the heavy gaze of other students, I finally found myself in the unpopular forests in the northwest of the Akan Island. Most academic buildings are located in the southeast of the island, while facilities for students, welfare facilities, and commercial buildings are concentrated in the southwest. Because there are only 2 bridges connecting schools to the mainland, one in the southeast and one in the southwest, the development is concentrated around these areas. After about half a day walking to the northeast edge, my legs ached so much that I just sat down on the tree. Let us not leave this island right now, I concluded, after spending half a day walking and arranging our thoughts. Regardless of the situation of my newly found position, I have to adapt and find ways to survive. Sylvania Academy is the top school. All noble families want their children to study there. To get into school, one must have superior or rich talent. Having a diploma, Sylvania means you can make a living with anything. I gritted my teeth, determined to protect my diploma. In this cruel world, no more valuable assets. Moreover, choosing to leave school at this time is like voluntarily entering a strange and unexplained land. I have played through Sylvania's Failure Swordsman many times. If the timeline takes place immediately after Ed Rothtaylor is expelled, it is the first part of the script. As somewhat familiar to the events that will take place in this academy, me can take advantage of my game knowledge as long as I am still within its limits. There is absolutely no reason to take risks on unknown things, not related to the context of the work. When I was focusing on thinking, it was dark. Sitting alone, on a tree in the deserted forest, I sighed and tiredly rubbed my face. See, we have nothing here. I put 2 wooden bags on the lawn and opened them. Among many types of clothes and textbooks used for classrooms and magic artifacts, there is nothing especially useful because all are adjusted for learning purposes. My life is glorious, but my personal belongings are too little. Awareness of such an empty life comes. However, although I was kicked out of my family, I was still not expelled from school. Without the support of my family, I could not pay this unreasonable tuition, basically being expelled from school. But perhaps the tuition of the next semester was already paid. If I can guarantee a scholarship or find a new source of income, I can continue to go to school. However, there is a time limit until the next semester. The scenery here is really beautiful. A little further away, there is a stream flowing from the comfortable hills in the northwest of Akan Island. I was fascinated by the reflection of the moonlight on the water and the peaceful scenery of the forest, where I could only hear the sound of insects. It is not time to immerse yourself in romance because people may starve to starve. Picking up a tree branch, I started bricking what I needed to survive immediately. The goal is to graduate. I have written goals. Frampton graduated with prominent ways. Ed Rothtaylor is currently a second-year student. There are 6 more semesters until the graduation day. The cost for a semester is about 20 gold dong, enough to buy a luxurious carriage. Even after cutting costs. Typically, Sylvania students are in the first-class dormitory, eat at high-class eating facilities, use the best magic tools to learn, and some even have 2 or 3 servants. Ignoring those advantages, the first thing to be solved is urgent needs to survive: clothes, food, and shelter. Our clothes have. Whether the environment for washing them is enough or not is another problem, but at least a week we can avoid looking like a beggar. The problem is food and shelter for tonight. Sigh. Take a deep breath. However, with a new determination and a slap in the face, I blame myself. What can we change continuously? I stood up strongly and performed a series of muscle relaxation, relaxing the waist and legs, completing the entire nationwide exercise, then a series of jumping and pushing. Feeling refreshing physically and mentally, I remember the new student entrance exam is not far away, calculated by day, about 10 days left. First, I need to ensure sustainable conditions to continue going to school. 10 days is enough to make a grave tea something. Next is to find a place to sleep. The spring breeze is cold, and although it is possible to survive the outdoor night, sleeping directly on the ground is not a feasible choice. Can I build a temporary tent? A simple shelter will not be too difficult to build. Constructing some branches to make a support and cover them with tarpaulin or something similar, and that's enough to make a shelter with a roof. The northeastern forest of Akan Island is well preserved. Occasionally see the souls means this place is almost not touched by humans. There will be many suitable branches to make support. Don't worry anymore, let's go. There is no time to think. The action must come first. I stared at my reflection in the stream, focusing on details. Name: Ed Rothtaylor. Gender: male, age 17, level 2, race, people achievement, no power, 3 intelligence, 4 agility. 7 will, 7 luck, 6 detailed fighting ability, detailed magic ability, detailed survival. The ability to fake details. Ignoring my meager capacity, I focus on checking the detailed magic capacity. Details of magic capabilities. Grade: clumsy students, professional, element, common magic, fast execution, LV1, feeling mana, LV1, fire elemental magic, LV2 ignition, wind elemental magic, wind blade, LV1 if the expert is element, but the only known elemental magic is 2 basic magic, which proves the indifference of the student. According to Sylvania's curriculum, elemental miraculous students choose 2 majors in the first year. It seems that the fire and the wind have been chosen, but if even the basic things are only trained through the speaker, it shows how lazy the student is. But then what? Just having the magic to use is enough. I went deeper into the forest and felt mana in my body. Compared to the full mana of the main characters, my mana is much weaker, but I can still cut the appropriate branches to be a shelter. With my mana, the wind blades cut through the trees with the appropriate thickness. If they are too heavy to lift, they will be useless. Choose the right size as the key. After cutting half a dozen branches, I did not breathe out. Obviously, my body is not good at controlling mana. The need for training is obvious. This life is difficult. I spit out of disappointment, regained my breath, and brought branches to a more sunny place. Starting by digging small holes to balance the pillars on the flat ground, I set them up and put them together at a central point. It is not easy to hold 4 columns with shoulders and heads, but I did it. After that, I fixed the central point with a leather belt taken from my back, a belt from one of the high-quality long dresses. The last tree branch is supported in the middle, and the soil is dug around to avoid easy. After many efforts, a shelter looks like that has appeared, although fragile and precarious. It is not beautiful, not exactly the center, built in a hurry and lower than expected. However, erecting a tent on top will provide enough shielding for the night. I considered the use of some clothes in my wooden bag, but quickly dismissed that intention. Their mass is too small. The sacrifices of the clothes I need from tomorrow will not be realistic. They are likely to be resold, and dirty them like a temporary tent seems to be unstable. To compromise, I used 1 or 2 items to make underwear, to stay away from the ground floor. For the tent cover, I returned to the forest to find big leaves. When the roof was covered with branches, it had passed 1 hour and the full moon had risen in the sky. Phew. So tired. After completing the structure, I stretched out all the way and wiped my sweat. The work is very hard, but after all, it has been completed anyway. There is a shelter that can provide a little rest. Even so, a feeling of achievement filled me, bringing joy. You have completed the construction. Your production level has increased. The list of finished products has been updated. Message comes shortly thereafter. Confused, I returned to the stream and focused, not seeing the long information window, but another window blinking in front of my eyes. Detailed survival. Grade: new craftsman in professional profession, not skillful, LV4 design, LV1 collection. LV1, therefore. It seems that ED is more gifted in fabrication than magic. The index seems to focus more on ingenuity than intelligence or strength. New complete product. The wooden house is temporarily a temporary resting place, rudimentary and fragile. It seems that it will not last long without regular maintenance. The difficulty of production, and it is a good opportunity. I did not expect the production system to be able to convert so easily. If I can manage my craft, maybe I can also achieve other skills. A ray of hope. Thinking about that, there may be more ways to overcome the current crisis. But now, the fatigue weighs on my body and mind. The rest time is necessary. I quickly lay down to my completed shelter. The sound of rustling leaves and the sound of insect chirp flooded my ear. The darkness had settled down, and I could hardly see anything else. Close my eyes. I slowly fell asleep. There are many issues that have not been solved. There are too many things to handle. But now, let's rest first. We will solve after recovery. Rest is the most important. When it is morning again, I will think about the long-term survival strategies at the academy. 7 days before the new semester began. 3 days have passed quite calmly. Those 3 days are not useless waste. Explaining every detail is too boring. Summary in a sentence is not enough. Firstly, the IU shelter that I started has expanded in size. On Monday night, when it suddenly warped, I went to collect more wood from the forest to reinforce the structure. The rope may be ideal to tie, but because there is no wire, I just need to dig to the ground to fix the support bars. Concerned about the risk of leaking water when it rained, I sacrificed some clothes to cover the roof covered with leaves, then added more leaves to grow up. However, this threatens the stability of the support beams, which is underweight, so I have installed horizontal beams to allocate the pressure evenly. Regarding what to use to tie those braces, I finally twisted old clothes into strings to tie them together. I regretted using clothes in this way, wondering if the pawn shop could exchange them for a few silver coins. But then I shook my head. Unless they are decorated with jewelry, pawn shops will not care about such ordinary items. My truly valuable items have been stored, safe for future needs. The main problem is the nearest pawn shop in the neighboring city. I was scared to think about having to go through the Akan Island just so that when I arrived, I discovered that the amount received was not enough to cover the return trip. While riding a horsepower will be faster, walking will take the whole way every afternoon. This is not a trip that can be underestimated. Because there was no money to rent a horse-drawn carriage, I had to be cautious. I sat on the banks of the stream, using a dagger to grind a stick. After deciding not to rush out of the campus, I need to prepare things necessary for my daily life. Austria, residence, and food. I have enough clothes to live. And although the shelter is only temporary, food is the top concern. On the second day, I ventured into the forest to feed. Rural parenting has helped me familiar with this environment. However, identifying the trees is a completely different challenge. There are many vegetation, but recognizing which safe to eat is a challenge. Not a survival expert, I can only distinguish it with the naked eye. Therefore, I turned to the pine trees that were abundant in the forest, peeling their skin. Below, there is a soft shell inside. I recalled my grandfather's stories from my childhood, when people boiled bark to eat in famine. Using a ritual dagger, I pluck the soft crust below, then use fire spells to burn fire and boil water from the stream to cook. I used a decorative iron cup to make a temporary pot. I chewed a tough pine cover, didn't taste it. I could eat it, but I couldn't eat much. And that night, I had an attack on diarrhea. It seems that after all, bark is not something for people to consume. On the third day, I was exhausted from hunger and diarrhea. I looked very depressed. Using a ritual dagger, I carved a stick and wrapped it tightly with a handkerchief, making a rudimentary spear. Although it was as tender as possible, but the handkerchief was too loose, so I got married. Stain it with the thin vines that I found during the discovery. New creativity. Improvised harpoon. Tie a ritual dagger on an exquisite carved stick. Can be used to fish or hunt small animals. Lack of sharpness to hunting is deadly. Difficulty. Complete the creative process. Your manufacturing skills have increased. Now is the time when I have to apply my childhood fishing skills on the banks of the stream, this time with despair. The homemade tuberculosis is not as sharp as the factory production, but the experience can offset. The fire exploded and burned. Fortunately, my fire magic helped me not to struggle to start it. A grace from myself in the past, when I chose fire as my elemental expertise. But is that really grateful? In all cases, because I could not earn food, I decided to try my best with the fishing profession, and I caught a lot of fish, reminding me of the young days when I ruled the stream. I tried grilling fish on the stick, as in the cartoon. But when the fish cooked, the soft meat began to peel off, sadly losing a lot of meat. It is better to use an oven, but because there is no suitable material in my hand, I cannot do it. Therefore, I had to be content with my tongue burns when eating hot pieces. It is so disgusting. For the first time after a while, I felt nourishing my body. Gratitude for being more full of taste. I caught some fish, then swallowed them with a sip of spring water. I did not feel full, but it was enough to fight my hunger who tortured me for 2 days. I lay on my back on the gravel of the stream, looking up at the sky when the afternoon was approaching. There are very few notable things during the day, but the sun is converting. Only 1 week left until the opening day. I had to struggle to meet my basic needs. How can I hope to follow the curriculum and earn a scholarship, regardless of whether or not I know I have no choice but to succeed? The diploma from Sylvania Academy may be a large asset in this strange world. Even the most excellent Sylvania graduates often become key talents in their homeland. People with low scores still deserve to be classified as an elite hunter or scholar in the little-known magic associations. This is a much better starting point than doing everything itself. Is anyone there? Located on the banks of the stream, looking up at the sky, I was startled when I heard a voice. Student, but not to mention the lecturer, rarely went to the northern area of Akan Island, mainly for some practice or exams. Hearing. Such a young voice made me worried. I quickly guessed who that voice was. You are Ed Rothtaylor? Phenia Elias Chloral, the third princess of the Chloral Empire, is also known as the Phenia Princess. One of the 4 female heroes of Sylvania, swordsman the Sylvania, and a significant power player affected the whole scene of the school throughout the story, even though it was her future. Currently, she is a new student at Sylvania Academy. The main character, Taylor, met her in the entrance exam. Princess Phenia participated in the exam secretly after revealing me, Ed Rothtaylor, so the person who was standing in front of you, the culprit behind the examination in the exam, an action that led to my family's face and I collapsed. I heard that you were expelled from school. What did you come here? What am I doing here? That is the question I want to ask. This location is not suitable for the third princess, who often accompanies the entourage consisting of at least 7 bodyguards. I raised my head to look at Princess Phenia. Platinum hair and her sticky skirt looked completely lost in the wild. However, her outfit was not as luxurious as usual. At that moment, I suddenly realized that, practice testing of class exercises is taking place. Indeed, this is the episode set in the northern forest of Akan Island, a test conducted by the magic faculty of Sylvania Academy a week before the class started, to assess the talent of future magic practitioners. A scary exam performed by the notorious Professor Glast scattered the pearls containing mana throughout the large forest in the north, challenging students to find them as a means to assess their ability to detect magic energy, a basic skill for all magicians. It is honored to see you again, Princess Phenia. The princess's eyes looked at me scornfully. In my opinion, it is ridiculous. Not that she will believe whatever I say to heal herself. I quickly sat up and greeted respectfully. I thought you were kicked out of school. I was kicked out of the dorm. What are you doing here? She asked. Princess Phenia's eyes became unbelievable when she observed temporary shelter, bonfire, and my bad fish bones. You haven't left school. Yet. Unfortunately, I'm still a student. Didn't they proceed to deport you from Sylvania? It seems that they are not necessary. After the humiliation and loss of family support, it is clear that I can hardly continue to attend. Princess Phenia's lips curled up bitterly. Obviously, the thought of a noble discredited, not to mention a person who has been abandoned, continuing to study in Sylvania, seems unreasonable. If Koa discovered him, they would probably immediately chase him out of school. Tomorrow I have to report this to the dean. Do you really think they will let me stay here? My plan to get a diploma of my Sylvania Academy has encountered obstacles. I can't let this happen. I sighed and started thinking quickly. If the princess judges like that, then it is impossible to do anything else. Really, not only her, Princess Phenia, but most students are contemptuousing me. I think the faculties feel the same. If you know that, why don't you voluntarily leave? Leaving in a proper way is not better than enduring humiliation. I want to continue studying in Sylvania. I can't say I advise you to do that. Princess Phenia crossed his arms, his eyes filled with contempt. Go away. Everyone despised me. I also despised everyone. It seems like she misunderstood. I don't despise anyone. Didn't you remember myself arrogant and despise? I guess it's not easy to see myself objectively. I don't agree. In any case, I have to solve everything that is okay and quickly say my only solution. Rather, I owe you gratitude, Princess Phenia. She looked at me, obviously not believing. The Rothtaler family, where I was born, like a group of villains, coming out of a picture. Drunk with their ancient name, they spread arrogance and feeling of self, respect on their descendants from generation to generation. The spirit of the respectable ancestors, the honor and generosity mean there is no more, only the feeling of privileges like a ghost, with family members hold important empire positions and act arrogant. The truth is that there is a great secret in the Rothtaler family. The head of the family, Krebin Rothtaler, made a covenant with the cruel god of Mebula since the mythical period and studied the immortal school magic. This leads to countless inhuman experiments, with countless lives sacrificed for the research purposes. The whole plan was Taili, the protagonist of Sylvania's Failure Swordsman, discovered discreetly about 2 years later. Despite the struggle to the end, Krebin was still subdued. For the Rothtaler family, what happens to them without even having to ask? They are described as arrogant and presumptuous to the point of excessive, participating in the waste in front of others. They face a really desperate collapse in order to bring a satisfactory end to the player. Those who actively conspire to the plans of Krebin Rothtaler are executed without exceptions, and anyone who is only a little related will be imprisoned or punished in one way or another. From that perspective, it is necessary to review my current situation. Although I am now hungry, cold, and uncertain about the future, but perhaps cutting off the relationship with the Rothtaler family from the beginning is not bad. In short, this is quite good. Are you saying that you are grateful to me? It's hard to believe. I suddenly stood up from my seat. The truth is, the survival in nature for 3 days has made me look with my painful eyes, and it is certainly why the princess is so shocked. Just a few days ago, that kid, still buckled, around arrogant while pretending was a noble, now looks like this. Even though it was an excited punishment, but also aroused pity. I thought about promoting this view, but Princess Fenia was not the person for personal emotions to influence his official ruling. Calling emotions is more likely to backfire than not. What is the best result? Whether I continue to study at this school or not, it is best Princess Fenia and all other students of Sylvania Academy don't pay attention to me. Making a fuss at this time may publicize the fact that Ed Rothtaler has not been expelled. This is only harmful to me. I am in a precarious situation, with the school council capable of chasing me at any time. It is better to keep myself from being noticed until my situation is that the school may hesitate to chase me. Therefore, there is no benefit of being hated by Princess Fenia. The handling of my problem depends on her judgment, Princess Fenia. I will follow, I answered, trying to be indifferent. Demonstrate despair by clinging to and pleading only counterproductive. The more he showed his feet and despair, the more likely he would despise them. Princess Fenia of Sylvania's Failure, famous as the Princess of Compassion, has a special pair of eyes, Thithi, the ability to see through the false and mind of a person. From the young days when she was a royal member, she grew up in temptation and deception, the false compliments and the sinister sophistry of countless people. Behind the boundless kindness of Ms. Anne contains the gaze of a king, can assess the nature of man just through a glimpse. I turned to look at the burning fire. The logs were burning when they were about to fade. I can easily blow the fire back with a fire spell, but my magic practice has not been completed, and I don't want to spend unnecessary magic power. I passed by Princess Fenia and sat down on the fireplace, using fire sticks to stir the fire, gathering pieces of wood scattered in the middle. Are you here for 3 days continuously? It will be quite pleasant when you get used to survival like this. My policy is very clear. The most firm way to avoid attention is not to care. Attitude. I don't care what you do with me. If I keep this attitude, it is likely that they will ignore me. Although the fact that she is the 3 princess rules the court is an extremely worrying factor, but it is a strategy with more chances of success rather than kneeling, crying and praying. especially when compared to those actions. Let me be alone. But that alone is not enough to achieve 2%. In the end, the princess's intention was to report me to the academic judgment to chase me. I have to compromise that issue. I have heard that. The nature of the royal family is so noble that even a short walk can cause a troop of an entourage. The servants follow, and a half-day outing also needs an escort team equipped with full weapons. Bribe and flatter. Although necessary, there is still a problem. I have nothing to bribe, and the blatant flattering will make me look cheap and lower me to the level of contempt immediately. Therefore, I have no choice but to use a compromise. But a noble figure like Princess Fenia alone goes into dangerous forests in the north of Akan Island, especially at this hour when the sun is converting. Surely there must be some urgent reason. Even when walking through the campus, Princess Fenia always has a servant to serve all her needs. Of course, that doesn't mean she doesn't have someone to escort even now. They may be watching me from hiding places, ready to attack if I have any wrong move. And if you think I'm alone and easily revenge, you're wrong. Knowing this, she can confidently make such comments. I smiled gently. Professor Glast's magic homework was notorious among the second-year students because of his cruelty. Each year, he tortures students in new and unique ways. I see you are also doing that class exercise. While using a fire stick without looking at the princess, I continued to speak calmly. If you come to the lake in the southeast of the forest, you will see a small rock island in the middle. It is only large enough for a single pine tree to grow, called the Merilda protective tree. If you look around the wooden eye of that tree, you can find something worth it. What are you saying? Anyway, you have to search throughout the forest, so stop here may not be bad. Princess Fenia seemed to glare at me for a long time, as if looking through. Although her gaze seemed uncomfortable, I tried my best to ignore it. What are you thinking? Are you still intending to take revenge? As I said before, I just wanted to continue studying at Sylvania. The explosion split with sparks. I almost could not blow the fire again. Then this is what the person can call it. A bribe I am giving to you, princess. In the end, I threw the tree to the fire. If you refuse, I can't do anything anymore. After saying that, Princess Fenia glared at me for a long time, then mocked the absurdity of that idea and left. Well, the princess's actions are now out of my control. Let go of me. Do you know who I am? I am Ed Rothtailor, the second son of the Rothtailor family. Remove your dirty hand from me, pigs. How dare you touch me? Taily? Haha. A lowly failure like you're just a pig. What does the princess? Fenia merciful? I apologize. I don't recognize you. Princess. She will tarnish the honor and solemnity. Or when I stood out, I defended a pig like Taily. Please punish him. It's all wrong. This is a trap. A trap, I tell you. That Taily pig is jealous of me. It's its conspiracy. Is this the same person? Princess Fenia walked through the forest, recalling the scene she witnessed in the entrance exam. The image of the frivolous aristocracy tried to cheat and chase the weak student Taily student appeared in her mind. She did not even need to comprehend her special to see how hateful and pathetic he was. Anyone can say he is an arrogant and ugly man. He is a flattering person at power and cruelly with the weak. Even when he first concealed his identity, he dared to despise the Fenia princess. He could not be left in Sylvania. That is why Princess Fenia acted by himself. Although she was a student, the school could not simply reject her opinion. That is the influence of the royal family. The truth is that he was gone to the public and was kicked out of his family because his crime happened 3 days ago. He seems to be much calmer than before. In fact, 3 days may be enough to see and change a person. The fact that she did not have time to worry about such thoughts. The current urgent problem is the class assignment test. The notorious test of Professor Glast about finding a magic ball throughout the northern forest. The test is to return to the scientific building after finding magic balls scattered throughout the forest. Starting after lunch, the test is still happening because the day is almost over. Of the 310 first-year students of the Faculty of Magic, nearly 290 people found their sphere and returned to the scientific building. Most students can find their sphere within an hour after the test starts. Only a few students remain in the northern forest when the sun sets. The truth, Princess Phenia, has easily found a magic ball long ago. Anyone who has the ability to detect basic magic levels can find them. Leaves, pile, small wooden chairs. Magic balls can be found anywhere. But something is wrong. There are more spheres than the number of students. Not only more, but also many times. Even if it was the first test after enrollment, it was too easy. Too easy compared to the famous exam of Professor Glast. Definitely have hidden intentions. She could not get rid of that feeling from her mind. Most students hurried back to the scientific building thinking that who came first would be served first. Even those who doubt it returns without gaining much benefits when the night falls. There are quite a few people who return to the magic ball in their hands, as if as much as possible. The moon has risen in the sky. However, Princess Phenia has not returned to the scientific building. The persistent thought that must be hidden, there in this test, made her not want to back down. Just go forever. Go forever. She finds herself on the lake. The rock island mentioned by Ed Roth Taylor can be visible. A single pine tree in the middle of the lake is bathing in the moonlight, creating the mysterious atmosphere called Ed Roth Taylor, called Merida's protective tree. Princess Phenia thought for a while, rested his chin, then focused the magic power on his toes and performed walking on the water. A magic allows her to walk on the water for a short time by consuming a large amount of magic power. Although very ineffective in terms of magic energy and difficult to maintain for a long time, making it not realistic in battle, it has the advantage of crossing the water without wet. Princess Phenia moved carefully and reached the small island and found something that was closely attached to the knot of the tree. Is this a trap made by Ed Roth Taylor? If he dared to plot against the Princess of Compassion, he would not escape the loss, which he probably understood very well. However, caution is still not harmful. The princess carefully approached the old tree. Magic sphere? But its color is different. A sparkling golden ball mounted on the tree, emitting a gentle light. Princess Phenia tilted her head. This design is strange. It has a gentle golden light, but nothing else. She tried to detect magic, but the amount of magic in it was very small. It is almost impossible to realize that it contains magic. Is this value valid? She wondered if it was worth it if she sold it. But with the princess, the value of objects does not mean much. Anyway, it seems that something makes sense. The princess threw her platinum hair up so that her hair would not touch the ground, then stooped. Sitting down, she studied the ball mounted on the tree. Consider whether to take it. I can't do that. This sphere was only found because Ed Roth Taylor has instructed her to its position. It was not discovered through her own merits. Therefore, taking the ball will be contrary to her pride. Princess Phenia decided to leave the lake. Overcoming the test by cheating will be ashamed. She understood this too clearly. Complete new items. With a rudimentary fishing knife, I cut small branches on the trunk of the tree, hang silk thread from the fabric, and replace a small nail with a hook. Poor durability. And if there is no buoy, it will be difficult to give a quick assessment of the bite. Difficulty production. You have completed the manufacturing. Your manufacturing skills have increased. I realize the biggest drawback of fishing with tuberculosis. It consumes too much energy. This is why I think of fishing with fishing rods, and thus created one. The trunk is very much, so just choose the right size. Among my old clothes, some are made of silk thread. I took the thread and twisted a few strands together to use as a fishing line. I also broke a trong his wooden bags to use small nails to keep its hinges. There is no tool like a hammer, so I don't have any other options. As a result, I created a rather rudimentary fishing rod. For bait, I decided to use earthworms, which I could easily find under the rocks in the flooded land near the stream. After preparing everything, I threw hooks towards the stream, and so I sat on the banks of the stream, waiting lifelessly. Preventing chin by hand while waiting is nothing bad, even more refreshing than running around the water and being wet. I hope there will be some results. Going back to my childhood days when I wandered on the mountains and rivers, there was no worries about famine. Everything was completely happy. Just thinking about those days, I felt an emotional feeling at the tip of the nose. I hope everything is not useless. When I unconsciously held a fishing rod, countless idly thoughtful thoughts in my mind. Is the provision of the Golden Globe position for Princess Phinia is right? Next time, I have to be more careful. My biggest advantage is that everything will take place at Sylvania Academy. However, if I do something can become a variable and prevent the future happening in accordance with the script that I know, then I will stupidly lose my advantage. If everything happened as I expected, Princess Phinia would not be able to find a golden magic ball. According to the valid scenario, the person who found its position was Lucy Lazy. From the classroom to graduation, she has never lost its leading position in the magic department, a model of talent. Yes, that's the only solution I can think of in this anger. However, the most urgent problem is to make sure the Phinia princess does not deport me. Pray and pleading, calling for emotions, will be the worst move I can do. The best thing you should do is to make an impression that something strange and suspicious about me makes them think that I shouldn't be expelled. It seems insecure but not dangerous. That kind of vague stance is what I need to do. If someone asks me what the hell was I say, I had nothing to say. It is not as difficult as you think. Professor Glast is known by students as the Brave Land Guy. It is not uncommon for professors to have a nickname of disrespect for students. However, Glast also brought it to a new level correctly, because he was really rude and his face was like a bucket. Yesterday, I conducted a classroom test, and now I will announce the results. At the most crowded and clean scientific building in the southeast of the island, the Ophelius Hall Auditorium, Professor Glast stepped onto the podium in front of the crowd of new magician students. Tall, thin and pale, his pale blue hair was stroked back neatly, but this only made the lines on his face like his skull even more prominent. First, anyone comes in van hour will be classified in Class F from the beginning. Everyone began to whisper when listening to him. Some people have trouble and bring a lot of balls, but there is still room to improve. They are in Class E, and depending on the type of ball, some even reach Class D. His normal way of calling for the students is to create a tone for his universal attitude. Even between students who are aristocrats, influential tycoons, and even the royal family, what is his attitude still carrying? Like obeying a rules of the Sylvania Academy. Before pursuing knowledge, the distinction of the position was shelled aside. This is often not true in everyday life or social relationships, but when it comes to academic, everyone is expected to compete. Class A is prestigious, with the highest level of care and education, including 3 people, Lortel, Lucy, and Zix, and among them, Lucy is the leader. Everyone should check their position in the distribution list, and there will be no controversy, just that. The whole hall became worried with this notice. Professor Glast began to dust on the cloak, preparing to step down from the podium. What is this? Unacceptable. Standard scoring is not clear. Are you randomly assigned us? Please explain. Too easy to understand. What is the purpose of the test, and what are the abilities you want to assess? Amidst the instability, some students have spoken up. Glast seems to have anticipated this reaction when he once again stepped on the podium and applied his voice amplification magic, Why do I have to explain the purpose of the test? Everyone was surprised by his question, including Princess Phinia. She checked the list that was distributed and amazed. Classes are classified from F to A, with 6 levels in the system. Class A has only 3 students, while Class B and C are empty, and about 300 students are stuffed into classes D, E, and F. Even Phinia was classified as Class D, which brought her into the top 10%, an unbelievable truth. If you want to take high classes, prove your ability and advance, it is your task as a student. This boldness is amazing. Princess Phinia felt humiliated, but quickly shook his head. Even before the orientation, the dean made it clear that when she enrolled in Sylvania Academy, she would not always receive a suitable treatment for her royal status. Leaving the lavish but significant learning space of a princess to learn the peer magic at Sylvania Academy is her own decision. She was ready to accept this insult, but she still felt unreasonable. Anyway, at least teachers need to make others understand, right, Mr. Glast? She finally spoke, although not large. The whisper in the hall stopped immediately. Obviously, to some extent, everyone is aware of that. A princess of a country is present among them. Although temporarily lowering her importance as a student, one still could not eliminate the dignity of capital that came with her inheritance. Princess Phinia, I'm sorry, but it's my teaching policy. His eyes were cold. It was the cold that she once felt from countless vassals sitting next to the emperor. Confidence in their abilities and methods. That congenital cold is present in the eyes of Glast. Princess Phinia can clearly see that. It was a feeling that she had experienced so many times that it became extremely tired. But if even the Princess Phinia prayed, this time I would be an exception. His hurried concessions were like others when he gave his steps. However, it is difficult for me to effectively convey the reasons without being misunderstood later. To avoid that, I asked Lucy Merrill, whom I chose to be the best student, explaining me for me, Lucy. Glast called Lucy, but there was no answer. Lucy, you have to be here. Lucy! The whole hall was whispering again when the students started looking around, trying to find a student named Lucy. Well, yeah. Finally, a girl sitting away from Princess Phinia 2 rows of seats reacted. She looks quite naive. Her witch hat, pulled down to cover her face, so wide that she covered her shoulder. Her slender body made even the baggy sleeves of the student cloak too excessive. Do you overslept? Ah, that's right. I'm sleeping. Her voice was soaked with drowsiness, and her sad eyes increase the extreme fatigue that she brings, and declare she is falling asleep right in front of the professor. For anyone who observes, she is definitely an eccentric of the eccentric. Can you go on stage for a while to discuss the purpose and solution of this test? Her eyes jerked when answering his question. It was obvious that she seemed confused. You do this right now? A stress spread throughout the hall. A comment that did not subdue to such a straight direction to Professor Glast, who was famous for his indifference. But some students heard rumors about this professor seemed not too confused. Really? For those who have no talent, he can be extremely cruel. For talented people, he can be extremely kind. Professor Glast is like that. Ugh, wow, yoke, keek. The witch hat was thrown into the empty chair beside her, and her hands, her straight legs looked like a kitten who had just woke up. And the way she tries to stand up from her seat slowly makes people think that a really lazy will seem more diligent. If you don't want to come up here, please answer. My seat. Just explain how you find the golden sphere in Marilda's protective tree. Ah, that's it. Oh, it will be fast. Lucy, almost hung on the chair, said nothing happened. Those are 3 admirable characteristics defined by the Glucked magician to find the truth as a great magician. The sensitivity to mana, the judgment quickly and accurately, and the will to learn. You must have wanted to confirm those things. The name Archmage Glucked is famous in the magical history textbooks, His definition of the characteristics representing a great magician is very famous. I just slept nearby and woke up at the time of twilight. While in a hurry, I only picked up the mana balls that I felt around, just that. Her hesitation when she said that the listener felt tired, but Professor Glast was still patiently waiting for her conclusions. Of course, apart from me, no one will be able to find the position of that magic ball anymore. This statement seems arrogant. But there is no arrogance in Lucy's words, as if it was telling an obvious truth. As if the sunrise in the east and a broken glass when touching the ground was too normal to remarkable, she explained in such a tone. Just, sleepy and continuing to explain, everyone felt something strange in the air. She is a genius. There is no reasonable explanation, but these innate talented people always exude a certain strange look.